Up and at 'em, kids. 6 a.m. now as we hit the hump day portion of the week. We have fully moved past the Kentucky Wildcats. I don't know if Mark Stoops has fully moved past us, but we have moved past them. We have dominated rivalry week, and now we look toward dominating the LSU Tigers, Preston Thorne, and whatever they bring here to Williams-Brice Stadium.
Let's go. Let's go. The week is done. We won the game. We've succeeded in upping our rival 3 out of the last 4 years. We're not talking about it anymore, but if they want to talk about it, we can bring the receipts.
Very true. But now we turn our attention, as Shane Beamer speaking yesterday, talking about this team, talking about them furthering themselves, getting better, now getting ready for, as we declared yesterday, the biggest game of the Shane Beamer era. Last week was big. I'm not saying it wasn't. But the stakes have risen because of getting game day in town, because of more recruits showing up, because of what this could lead to. I thought a little bit about it yesterday. I don't know if they were to win. I don't know if Akron qualifies for biggest game of the tenure, but maybe it does.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely it does. Now we're on a roll.
Because of what you're building, where you're going, how you kind of go about this. And that's why this is really interesting, and this is why it is a very big game. You can take down a brand name team, maybe a brand name team that's a little off their A game right now, just maybe a little off. LSU, maybe they come in here and they really are the LSU that you and I remember from the 2000s. Interesting concept yesterday that we were talking about. I was talking with some people about regarding LSU moving further and further away from that Nick Saban period, where I think they built that mentality of like, wow, this team's going to come in here and just physically beat you up, just physically tear you down.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it today. Tomorrow, I'm going to destroy the lazy narrative about who LSU actually is, because aside from a very short years, LSU is USC.
South Carolina?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I'm interested in that.
LSU is just South Carolina that speaks with a Cajun accent.
And has a couple championships.
Aside from a couple of years, isolated, no sustained periods of dominance except for with the greatest coach of all time, they are not that great. You bring up an interesting point that I've heard other people mention in the past, that there should be a lot more success for LSU. When you and I were growing up in the 90s, in the actual 90s. Who were they?
They were Jerry DiNardo.
Exactly.
Curly Hallman.
Exactly.
You are right about that. And we'll get more into that. But today, we will start to really break things down. And Preston is ready to exercise some demons here and help everybody move past some things. This is a day where we're going to try and move past a lot of things, right?
Immersion therapy.
Okay.
We're going to address the elephants in the room. There are multiple of them. They're hanging around. The black clouds follow us as Gamecock fans. And what we're going to do today on the early game is we're going to put these pictures up, audio pictures, if you will. We're going to listen to them, acknowledge them, talk about where we were, how we felt when big games came to town and it didn't quite work out.
Right.
We're going to acknowledge this because it's a thing. But after today, we're moving forward.
It's kind of the old put it in the trash can and burn it theory is what you're going with here.
Exactly.
We're going. So if you have, it's okay today. If you have bad memories and you want to get them out, you want to express them.
Put them on the table.
When big games have occurred, when big moments have happened, this is the day to do it. Get it out, release it, and then starting at 9 a.m., you feel good about what's going to happen this weekend. Is that right?
That's correct. That is correct.
All right, 803-404.
Also, we might have some trigger warnings today because we might be bringing up some painful memories for you.
It may happen. It may happen, but as Preston said, he wants you out there to release those bad memories. Don't suppress them.
Don't suppress them.
Bring them up. We'll let you get them out. And we're going to, when big games have occurred, Preston asked me yesterday to share 5 games, 5 times, and I sent 5 and then had to think about a few others. But moments where South Carolina's program was in a big spot and it didn't go the way that we would have hoped to. We had to walk out of the stadium feeling a little sad.
Let it go today.
So we'll get into that. We'll let you listen to a little bit of Shane Beamer, who yesterday talked about game day being a big deal. Also talked about the team handling expectations. And Preston, I think, and we're also going to have John Strickland in here, and you and Big John can really kind of go back and forth on the Lou Holtz tenure, because a lot of what we're talking about today, obviously it was you and John and a whole group of guys that had the first game day experience and what that was like for y'all at that point, and bringing them and how that created expectations or what it created in the locker room, getting the national spotlight that week back in 2001.
I'm really interested to hear what John thought, because one of my favorite things is to talk to teammates that were around, because obviously we weren't talking about it wasn't like, John, how is this game day experience affecting you today, sir? We wasn't talking about those things. So now, with the benefit of hindsight and retrospect, I'm really interested to see how other of my teammates experience these things.
So we'll get into that. We'll obviously hit that up a little bit today and let you two kind of break it down, because I remember very vividly in 2001. I don't remember what day it was, Wednesday or Thursday, but walking around the Russell house back then, and game day had set up kind of like, you walk over, pick up a football, you throw it at, kind of like the old Papa shot, but it was you throw it at rings or something, and if you got it, you got a T-shirt. There was a few other things. I was like, wow, this is really cool. This is what everybody else has been experiencing for the last few years, because I think game day started going on location weekly in '99 is what I believe I saw. And since then, South Carolina, mostly with Steve Spurrier, has been able to host game day. This will be the 8th time, the first time in 10 years. But it's not, and to pretend, us at least, Preston, to pretend like this is just, it's just another, that's not true.
It's not. And we are now acknowledging reality. This is not just another Saturday. This is not just another game. Besides the fact that we only get a couple every year, some games rise above that, and this is one of them.
This is one, and again, the reason we call it the biggest game of Shane Beamer's tenure is because could be a turning point for the Shane Beamer era. There's certain games, I go back to the Will Muschamp era, where it seemed like he was there and the program was going to turn a corner, and I don't want to say take off. I don't know if that's the right word, but become consistent. And consistent right now for South Carolina is baby stepping, right? 7 or 8 wins consecutively for multiple years. I don't know if I'm a believer. Steve Spurrier built up to where he was winning 7 pretty consistently, 6 and 7. That was the one year they didn't go to a bowl game and they were 6 and 6. And then you had the jump to 9, and then you had the jump to 11. And to me, and I don't know if you agree with this, you have to kind of baby step this to become consistent. Something we talked about the opponent last week, Kentucky going to 7 straight bowls, constantly winning 7 or 8, occasionally throwing in a 10 win. South Carolina's got to go back to those days of developing, okay, they're going to win 7, they're going to win 8, and then you consistently flesh that out and then move on to, okay, now we consistently win 9.
I'm not sure if you were trying to do this, but you just triggered one that's not on our list, and that's Florida 19.
Actually was one I had in mind.
Yeah.
That was the 6th game, and that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, as you said, Muschamp not being consistent, not taking advantage of the moment, I could see Israel Mukuamu getting held for 30 yards down the field as Florida won that game. So,
and that people don't realize that back then that would have been back-to-back top 10 victories.
Correct.
That would have been, they had just come off the Georgia game. I go back to that 2019 game where South Carolina and Tavian Feaster ran it down Florida's throat down the left side, got down there, and I think it was McClendon. I think it was Brian McClendon was like, I got an idea. We're gonna go play action pass from the 6, despite the fact we just ran it 70 yards with zero problem over the left side. Ryan Helinski took a sack. They would settle for a field goal on that drive. And I believe it was the very next series is when Mukuamu got held and Florida took the lead and never looked back.
Which, by the way, Northwestern is in the midst of a quarterback struggle. They've replaced their quarterback.
Oh, no. And it's not with Ryan Helinski.
It's not with Ryan Helinski.
No, he's way down that depth chart.
Yeah.
So we'll get into all that. We're gonna exercise some demons this morning and get it out. Get it out and mentally cleanse yourself, knowing that this could be a very positive weekend. So we'll do that. Again, we'll let you listen to a little bit of Shane Beamer. A lot to get to this morning as we roll along. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen out, producer Ed Bird filling in here. We'll get into all of that. You're listening to the early game.
Preston here. Let me tell you about our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you, usually for free, and they work directly with the insurance company to take away the headache. They'll come out to wherever you are, school, home, work, it does not matter. Absolute Glass will take care of it for you. Now, if you're at home and you're looking to increase the value of your home, you can do that with new windows and mirrors. And Absolute Glass will do that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. I say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
All right, just one little incident to report right now. A disabled vehicle at I-20 westbound at Broad River Road. So if you're heading westbound on I-20, just keep an eye out for a disabled vehicle there. We do have some weather, partly sunny today, high of about 81. It's going to be rather nice. Low tonight will get into the mid-60s at 65. Are expecting some rain later in the week. We'll try and keep you updated on that and how it pertains to the football game on Saturday, or at least when I saw last night. Looked like there'd be rain in the morning, Preston, which means a party over there at GameDay, a washout early on. But they will have GameDay, by the way. They will still have it. Everybody will get out there. A little rain isn't going to affect everybody. So a little rain later in the week. Again, partly sunny today, high of 81, low of 65 tonight. You're listening to the early game. 6:16 as we get you up and get you going here on your Wednesday morning, where, as you just heard me talk a little bit about it, should be a nice day today, but some rain moving in. And Preston, rain, shine, sleet, snow, whatever. Game day is like the mailman. They're going to work. They're going to go. They're going to be covered. They're set. They're under a nice big construction tent or however you want to label it.
Construction tent. Also, it was been revealed in the past couple of years that they have air conditioning underneath the desk. We've seen a lot of things revealed about the conditions in which they work in.
Yeah. You, on the other hand, if you're going, you might want to, I don't know what the umbrella policy will be and how that'll affect everybody, but
you want to waterproof your signs. So if you got to make sure you use a Sharpie permanent ink, because water can ruin those things. So make sure you waterproof the signs that you're going to be using.
Very smart there on your part. So that leads us to, it's a big week. I mean, it would have been a big week with LSU in town and going for 3-0 regardless. But now you bring the eyes of the college football world. I don't know if anybody saw this. I caught it yesterday, but and I don't know if it's a Nick Saban effect or what it is. Viewership last week was up 23% from week 2 last year in 2023. So viewership rose significantly, at least through the first, they said yesterday, 2. They didn't count the Ireland one. They just did Texas A&M and the Michigan events. Viewership is up. So now you get the eyes of the college football world on you, and it's a big deal.
It does not get bigger than this. There's only one other stage that's bigger than this, and that might be the national championship. On a weekly, consistent basis, Game Day is huge. Everybody watches this program, and it sets the table for the college football day. And by the way, college football as a viewing experience for audiences is only rising. More people are watching. More people are invested. We're all here for it. So aside from the other programs that they have, there's only really 3, right? CBS is trying to do something else. You have Game Day in the number 1 spot, Big Noon, challenging, SEC, forget what they call the actual show.
Might be just SEC Nation.
SEC Nation, and they do a great job also, and they've been here a couple of times. But in the top spot is Game Day, and this is what people will be paying attention to.
Shane Beamer talked about this yesterday, how Game Day is a big deal. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, I think just continue to get better and continue to work. You know, our challenge this week is, one, not to listen to listen to the pats on the back, but prepare to go play well. And in Dylan and Kyle Kennard's instance, and our defensive tackles, they're listening to everybody tell them how dominant we are on defense. That's wrong, because they're getting ready to play arguably the best offensive line in the nation on Saturday, and they better be ready to play. And you can go on and on and on. You know, Mazio Bennett, young player, had a really good game on Saturday where he's getting ready to play a team on Saturday against LSU that they don't really try and disguise stuff. They're going to line up in your face, and they're going to press you, and they're going to play man coverage and say, beat us. So we need to be preparing to go do that. But I think we've got mature guys, like I said, older guys that have been around here. But one thing I like about this freshman class is particularly the ones that are playing, Josiah and Michael Smith and Mazio and Dylan, primarily, and a lot of freshmen that are playing, Fred Johnson. Those guys, they're very, steady and consistent and mature to be young guys also. So I think they'll be fine.
There's a wrong cut there. That wasn't producer Bird's fault there. It was we have something a little mislabeled. But Preston, will jump to that real quick. For the young guy, you were a young guy. You were a redshirt freshman that you may not remember much about, as you said, when Game Day came in 2001. Now you've got these young players, Stewart, Thompson, Michael Smith is another one, that this is the moment for them. This is something that I don't know how much you watched Game Day in the late 90s leading up. Were you into it?
Yeah, every Saturday.
Yeah,
that's where I was.
So you knew. So it was a big deal. You were very aware of when Game Day was coming. It might not have been a focal point for you, but much like these guys, it was something you were very aware of.
Yeah, you understand and you know what it is. It really is interesting. You hear how different generations view different products. But to your point about them being young, yeah, I was young way back in 2001, and the positive was that this was happening. The negative was, oh, this is just going to happen all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
I just felt like, hey, game day is going to be here every week. This is how it's going to be. And that's how I'm sure Dylan Stewart and some of these other folks, and that's why it's good to have guys like Kyle Kennard on a team who's been playing college football for 10 years. And he's like, hey, this does not happen very often.
Yeah, from Georgia Tech.
They never came to us at Georgia Tech. Not once, ever. I've never seen these guys before. I've been playing college football for 20 years. This doesn't happen, guys. And so I like having those two dudes in the room so the older guy can explain to some of these young pups that, hey, this is special.
Let's listen to what Shane Beamer had to say. We've located it. Here is game day being a big deal. This is Shane Beamer yesterday.
No, I do. I can remember, watching it for sure, but then being at Virginia Tech in 99, that was my senior year of college, and that was the year we went undefeated and played for the national championship, and game day came to Blacksburg, I think twice that year for Syracuse and the Miami games, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember what a huge deal that was, that game day is coming to Virginia Tech. And then over the years, getting to know Kirk Herbstreit on a personal level, and getting to know Chris Fowler and Reese Davis now, and Pat McAfee in the last couple of years, getting to know those guys has been cool. And then certainly I'm a fan whenever we're in the hotel on game days, home or away. I'm watching it if we're not in meetings or eating or whatever we do as a team, because I'm just a college football fan and enjoy watching it without a doubt. I remember in 2010 when they were here when we played Alabama. I think we had an off week the week before because we had lost to Auburn, if I'm not mistaken, the week before. And I remember we were working that Sunday, and I think I told you guys Sunday night, I ran in the subway over here on Assembly Street to get lunch. And I remember coming out of Subway and my wife telling me that it had just been announced that game day was coming to Columbia for the Alabama game 6 days later, and how exciting that was. And it's the same feeling now as well as the head coach. So it's awesome for our community, and great that they're coming here. And now we need to make sure they walk out of here saying that's a place we need to come back to, and we need to do our part to play well and make it a memorable day.
There you go.
Couple things. 2010 was a long time ago. As noted, that Shane wouldn't be caught dead coming out of a Subway today. He would never have to leave his office and go get something. No, he could just walk downstairs to the nutritionist and have them make him a meal. As an assistant coach, he's watching those pennies like, $5 footlong? I got to get that. Yeah. He had things he had to prepare for. So, yeah, that was a long time ago. Again, 2010, when you say it over and over again, it is a long time ago. But as he noted, yes, important, big deal for teams, because this is what all the players, every player who's playing a game later, yes, they're going to be scrolling Instagram, they're going to be doing all these things, but they will be keyed into at least what happens on game day.
One other thing he talked about, Preston, was the impact on recruiting. And you brought up a great point yesterday about almost a side television show that takes place, and we'll talk about that here. Let's hope this is the right one. It would be number 2 if it is. Let's see. But it's the impact recruiting that game day has on recruiting.
No, I do. I think it's certainly the way we played Saturday. We had a lot of people that were already interested in us, but we were fortunate that Saturday in Lexington, that was really the only game on. There were a couple other ones, but it was kind of the premier game across all channels. So there were a lot of eyes that were watching our game on Saturday, a lot of recruits that were watching that game on Saturday and saw us playing freshmen. And Monday nights we work late, but we take an hour from 6:30 to 7:30 as a staff and just FaceTime recruits for an hour straight. We probably talked to 30 kids last night, and that's what they were all saying was, man, y'all were balling against Kentucky and whatever else, and at defense and those freshmen and Dylan Stewart and all that stuff. That's great. And then so that already had excitement. Then game days announced that they're coming. That just created even more excitement with fans, recruits, our players. But yeah, I believe absolutely, NIL, it's a different time. Transfer portal, it's a different time. But having, those players, they watch that show and they know who those guys are. And they know that, Reese Davis and Kirk Herbstreit and Lee Corso and Nick Saban and Pat McAfee are going to be here this week. Desmond Howard are going to be here this week as well. So they know who those guys are. And even if they don't, they know that when game day comes to town, that's a big deal as well. And that's a test. I told our players this morning, it's a testament to them and LSU that they want to come and be a part of this thing and get used to it.
And that's why that's why we are declaring it the biggest game of the Beamer tenure, because you can really change the narrative. I don't know, Preston, how many players really go back and like, well, they were 5-7 last year. Recruits tend to live in the moment.
Yes.
And if they come here and you see the pregame is going to impress them. Whether it rains or not, the pregame is going to impress them. And if you go in that stadium and it's crazy and South Carolina's up and it's loud and sandstorms rocking, they're going to be like, oh, this is a really cool environment. This again, they're not going to be like, well, hey, last year in 2023, what was your record? What did you do? They're like, oh, I got it. I see it. I see why people want to come here. And you brought up a great point that I'll let you do again about how it impacts other people who aren't here.
They are their own reality shows walking around with thousands of followers on Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. So while they're walking around, touring the facilities, going through 2001, getting the great treatment, everybody else is watching them get that also. So it may be another recruit who had to go to another game because they had prior commitment, but they're watching Bill Gunner's the number one recruit. Man, he's at South Carolina. Man, it looks crazy down there. I need to get down. Maybe I'll go next week. I didn't get a chance. Maybe they were lower on my list, but his IG is fire right now. I need to go check that out. And so it's all networking effects, and it keeps expanding outwards. And so you having a chance to not only make an impression on one person, but 10 people, 1,000 people, million, however, who knows how many impressions some of these folks get on their various social media channels.
Yeah, you're right. I've seen it just from doing basketball recruiting and still kind of with my son being around it, whereas the good players like to be social media friends with other good players and communicate. And it's naive to think that those guys don't DM each other or slide into each other's DMs, if you will, or do whatever and be like, hey, man, how was the experience there? What did you think about them? Oh, that's pretty cool. Okay, well, I'll at least give them a shot. I'll go see what's going on. And for South Carolina, that's what makes this such a golden opportunity. We'll talk about that. We'll also get back into handling expectations. How do you think the 2001 team handled expectations?
Very well. Early in the game.
Well, we'll get into that, and we'll exercise some demons as well. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, producer Ed Bird. It is the early game. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. First Palmetto Bank, locally owned and operated right here in the Midlands. So that means quick and fast underwriting if that is what you're in the market for. And you might be, because listen to this. If you are interested in moving into Richland County, First Palmetto Bank and Jacob Crowder have an incredible product for you that can save you a lot of money. It's called the Community Reinvestment Product. And again, it's if you're looking to move into Richland County, Blythewood, Northeast, Southeast, and the I-20 corridor are areas that are offering a 4.99% interest with a 5.075 APR on a 30-year fixed mortgage. You heard that right. They are offering a 100% purchase loan at 4.99% on 30 years fixed. For more information, call the Mortgage Guru and learn about this today. 803-719-1005. Call Jacob Crowder today. Tell him Bill Gunner sent you. That didn't take long for y'all to start bumping and banging around out there. We still have that disabled vehicle on I-20 westbound at Broad River Road, but now we've got an incident at Highway 1 at I-77. So if you're heading that way on I-77, keep an eye out. Highway 1 and I-77 with an accident. And I-26 eastbound at I-126. I can tell you there is a little bit of a traffic backup. They're doing some construction on the road. I was coming in that way this morning. So as you're heading down 26 and you're venturing toward Charleston, be careful there, because as you come around where I-126 continues straight into Columbia, there is a little bit of a traffic backup. And Pierce, we've now had an incident there, I-26 eastbound at I-126. So continue to drive safe out there this morning. Again, high expected to be in the low 80s today and nice. Rain this weekend. You're listening to the early game. .34 as we roll along here on your Wednesday morning. Preston Thorne's teammate and his battery mate, I believe, his punching bag, John Strickland, joining us here in the 8 to 9 o'clock hour, is expected to join us this morning. And you two will get into a little bit of expectation talk, because this is interesting. For us, the fans, this is exciting. This is thrilling. We can focus on, I don't have to worry about a cover 3 and one of the LSU wide receivers running by me Saturday on national television and me being embarrassed. I don't have to be the left tackle who's got to deal with a defensive lineman. As fans, we can just be like, man, this is awesome. Game day's here. I can focus on that up until about 11 o'clock. I can go into the stadium, do whatever it is you do in the stadium, watch the game, and enjoy. Our expectations are different than what players have had to deal with this week, especially, Preston, if I understand correctly, I'm sure with game day being here and with everything going on, there are certain players that are getting phone calls from relatives being like, hey, what are you doing with your tickets? Can you get us tickets? We're going to need tickets too.
Yeah, that's the thing. Ticket requests are probably up more. More people you're going to have to try and figure out who you're getting tickets for. There's probably going to be a more media request on certain players, especially younger players who are having to deal with that. Yeah, there's an extra layer that comes with aside, and this is only their third game. So it's not as if this is old hat for them or they know the old routine. This is something totally different.
I also, real quick, you say that, I'm trying to think, Rocket Sanders, I don't know if Arkansas ever had a game day, even if he went somewhere. You mentioned it. Jared Brown at Coastal, no. Gage Larvindane at Miami, Ohio, no. Kyle Kennard at Georgia Tech, no.
He's watched 10 years of game day.
Yeah.
He's never been part of one.
Demetrius Knight, no. You get the point, yes.
Yeah, so yes, it is a thing. And that is something that you just have to – that's why a lot of times playing an away game can feel a little bit like a relief, because you don't have to deal with – you know, your mother's like, okay, and after the game, we're going to meet at the tailgate, and then we're going to – you're like, all right, man, that's great. I just want to play a football game, you know? So you have to deal with all of the extenuating circumstances. The game doesn't change once the kickoff goes off, but there are other things that are floating around the game.
So let's go back, and we'll get you and Big John in a little while to kind of go both sides of it in the 8 o'clock hour. But what do you remember about the expectations in the practice facility, in the locker room, everything going up that was what I'd say inside noise, the things that y'all were dealing with, not the extracurriculars of dumb college friends? And he was going, hey, man, game day's here. You guys aware? Nah, I didn't. You know, like, I don't know how many of us regular students came up and were like, oh, man, hey, Florida, you guys were up 21-3 last year. This should be a piece of cake.
I think, now that you say that, I think that's more so what it was in that particular instance way back in 2001. You know, we were trying to get over the hump. Florida was one of the kings of the hill at that moment. And I think for us at that time, the message was, we should have beat these guys last year. Now, we could have. We should have beat them. We had an opportunity to beat them. So it was more so singularly focused on that and getting over the next hump, as opposed to maybe the outside noise. So it was looked at as a big game, but more so in that particular instance because of revenge factors.
So one of the things we're going to do this morning is exercise some demons. But first, yeah, get yourself ready. We're going to do that. But first, let's hear Shane Beamer talk a little bit about the team handling expectations, and then we'll come back to fans handling expectations. Here's Shane Beamer from yesterday.
I think so. I think we're prepared to handle it. We'll find out, but I feel like we have a very mature team in a lot of ways. No, we're young in a lot of spots, particularly on offense, but we've got a lot of veterans that have been around here for a while on defense, and veterans like Kai Kroger and Kai Kroger and Hunter Rogers and Alex Herrera that have been around here for a long time, and veterans on offense like Luke Doty and Vershawn and Jakai that have been around here for a long time. So we got a lot of players that we're going to lean on them to really set the tone for our guys this week. And what we told our players is, that Kentucky game was huge, but we're either going to look back here at the end of the season and say, man, that Kentucky game was really huge because of what it propelled this football team to. And they took that win and they just continued to get better and use that momentum. Or we're going to look back at that Kentucky game and say, what an opportunity we wasted that we played like that. And then we sat around and drank the Kool-Aid all week and listened to all the pats on the backs that we're getting. And instead of getting ready to play a really physical, well-coached football team against LSU. So I feel like we're prepared. Practice today showed me that we're preparing the right way. And then the key for us is just going to be to continue to improve Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then just go turn it loose on Saturday.
I don't want to be I don't want to be out of line on this, but listening to Coach Beamer there, he's saying all the right things. What he said, yes, that made all the sense in the world. He said what you and I just said. You can't let last week, you can't sit around and look at it and be like, oh, we've turned a corner just on that game. You can't go into this game and have sat around all week and taken pats on the back and
rat poison.
Taking the rat poison. He said all the right things that you want to say, but it's on that team to go out and show it on Saturday and not let the moment be too big for them.
Yeah, and it's going to be a huge moment because, as he stated, a lot of those guys have been around here for a long time. And guess what? We've never had a moment like this. We have not had game day here since all of those players have been here. So they've had moments that were big and made into big moments eventually, but they haven't had a game where the expectations were, because even if you think about maybe the Tennessee game where they made that into a big game, we remember what the expectations were of that game. They weren't a lot, right? So we haven't had games where this group of players has had to perform with the fan base having these types of positive expectations on them.
So I've been trying to go back to the Steve Spurrier era and find the game that we all feel like South Carolina turned the corner. And because we're going to be positive first. We're going to give you a positive thought, and then we're going to come back and exercise, for a lot of people, a particular demon. In 2009, South Carolina was really searching to turn the corner. And on Thursday night, September the 24th, back in 2009, number 4 Mississippi came in. Now, Mississippi was number 4 in the country, but I don't know if they were the number 4 team in the country, if that makes sense. That was a team that had some flaws, and that was who was their coach at that point? Do you remember? I can picture his face. Houston Nutt was. And South Carolina won that game 16-10. South Carolina would get off to a 5-1 start that year. They would then lose on the road to number 2 Alabama in a game that South Carolina actually was in. Kept throwing fades to Alshon Jeffrey there in the corner of the end zone. But that was kind of the propelling point for the Steve Spurrier era.
Birth of Sandstorm.
Right. And I believe because it was a Thursday night game, it wasn't the Saturday morning game day crowd.
But eyes.
Everybody, the eyes were on it. The game day was there. I think Herb Street was calling the game that night, and you know what it propelled you on. And I think that is the game that we look at, obviously, because the next season, South Carolina would really, by the way, that 2009 season, South Carolina would finish it out by thumping Clemson to start the 5-game win streak. They would lose the bowl game to Connecticut. That was awful. But the bottom line is that feels a lot like this game in that it was the jumping off point for Steve Spurrier's really run over the next 4 years.
That's a great point, and I hadn't thought about that. But that game, I do vividly remember that game. That's the Eric Norwood game. There's a Birth of Sandstorm, the iconic Eric Norwood interview where he's mid-interview and stops and salutes the alma mater. A lot of great things happened in that game, and you're right. That may have been a flashpoint where things changed for the trajectory of the program.
When we come back, we'll go over a few that we're going to – well, we're not doing this to rile you up this morning, but we're doing it to exercise. You let these feelings go. You let these – put them in the trash can and burn them, but we're going to step back through them for a little bit and exercise some demons. And, yes, it'll start in 2001 with a game that, whew, started really good. We'll revisit some of those and let you exercise some demons this morning. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, producer Ed Bird. It is the early game. Eight zero 404 6100. How you can weigh in this morning. A couple of y'all doing that. Chris weighing in saying, I understand it's only one game. However, the outcome of the game Saturday has huge ramifications on many levels.
There we go. Now you get in spirit.
And I agree with you. This is Chris a little bit more. Says South Carolina can't feel like they've arrived by being 2-0 with wins over ODU and Kentucky. They have to stay hungry I'm going to skip that word just because I think it's on one of the 7 that I'm not allowed to say. Disrespected and focused is where he goes. And that's what we've been saying. There is an element to this game of knowing, I don't know if I'm saying you've arrived, but taking a step up. KT from Lexington weighs in and says, I'm waiting to hear from Dow today to find out if we have a chance or not. We will discuss some Dow Loggins and Clayton White tomorrow and get into that. And then we take you to this, because we're not doing this to tease anybody. We're not doing this to hurt you. We're doing this to exercise the demons.
Because we are you.
Right.
We're all in this together.
And what we want to do is, unfortunately, relive some of this, but then you throw it in the trash can and you light the match and you burn these memories. And in 2001, I was telling Preston off air, it was such a neat experience. I was a sophomore in college at that time, and game day came, and it was a big deal. And as we said, Florida, we'd had them on the ropes. Y'all had them on the ropes in 2000 down there. Who knows what happens if Faison doesn't drop that interception that would have made it 28-3. Who knows where that goes? But this was the game. This Florida coming in was the game, and game day was here, and we're going to do the blackout, and this is so good. And I will say, by the way, I know you didn't get to really participate. What they're about to do with game day on Saturday in Gamecock Park, and how it's going to look beautiful. It's going to look incredible. And being out there in the middle of the fairgrounds with dust and gravel and just almost a third world out there. It's come a long way. But Mike weighs in and says, I was there in 2001. Amazing day, up to Derek Watson scoring the first touchdown. Willie B exploded. And then the OBC lit us up.
You're right. Let's relive the moment. Ed, clip 24, please, sir.
Kick, and he's got good distance on this one. All the way back, fumbled the ball at the 14, at the 9-yard line. Scramble for it. South Carolina has Watson, sweep to the left. Blockers in front, turns it up. He will score.
I will say, and the game got ugly, but this is just a trip down memory lane for me being back in college. And when Watson runs it in the end zone in front of the Florida student section and starts punching the air,
he's doing the air punches, man. Look here.
I'm getting a little teary-eyed thinking about it. Obviously, things
what a moment,
drastically
iconic moment.
That. I know the fade was incredible. I know that A. Sanders running the punt back against Georgia in 2012 was incredible. I will tell you this, that is possibly the loudest I've ever heard that stadium in that moment. It got quiet, but that is honestly maybe as loud as I've ever heard Williams-Brice Stadium in that moment when Watson runs it in. And unfortunately, then all our hopes were dashed.
Yeah, it was soon quickly done after that. I believe the final score was 54-17, so we didn't score many points after that. But at the end of the first quarter, it was 10-10. Then the second quarter happened.
Yeah.
17 points, unanswered. 13 points, unanswered. 14 points. And another one. Yeah. So, yes, it did. But that was a huge moment. And we were there for that. The blackout was happening. The crowd, it was, you talk about, we say electric. Like you said, that moment, Squeak scores that touchdown. He's punching the air. Based on what we did the previous year, we thinking this is it. We're going to take down the Giant.
And it also came on a special teams miscue, which they kept having.
Yep, you heard another special teams miscue.
The beginning of that is, I believe it was Leto Shepard dropping the punt. I believe it was. I could be wrong.
Lou Holtz gets in the T formation.
Oh, yeah.
Hands it to Squeak. Amazing moment. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out the way that we wanted it to.
And then we all had to trudge back to our car at some point and deal with broken expectations.
Yes.
Broken. And that's so. Take that this morning, put it in the barrel.
Text us in your moments, 803-404-6100. What moments did you have the expectations build up, and maybe we didn't quite? We're trying to exercise the demons here because we are on to a big thing on Saturday.
It is, and let's play the other clip. So we did it. We'll come back and rank them. And again, yeah, as Preston said, 803-404-6100. If you have a particular game at home that it was that you were built up for, and we got let down, send it in. purge it from your system and,
right.
and prepare for good things. This is the other one, though. Let's go to clip number 26 there, Producer Bird, as this is Texas A&M in 2014 where it all kind of went sideways.
Noise. Middle. Beautiful toss. Touchdown. Aggies score on their first drive. Ricky Seals-Jones, and the underdog comes out barking with a...
Yeah. They scored on their first drive and proceeded to score more.
And we thought that, they don't have Johnny Manziel anymore. How good can this Kenny Hill guy be?
Who's he?
Who, by the way, got benched in the middle of the season, I believe.
Did not even. It's also wild to go back and look at clips. You see Kevin Sumlin on the sideline. They were, Kenny Thrill. He was a big hype. Did not finish the season as the starter. But that game, he talks about that game a lot.
Kenny Hill?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sure his room somewhere is just decorated in pictures and stats.
He has
game
blades.
balls.
He has shrubs from Williams-Brice.
So, all right, hold on. Let me clarify this because Texter weighs in and goes the Citadel. Now, that was a bad loss.
Yeah.
That was a bad loss and a bad season. What we're going for is times that you thought, and South Carolina at times we mentioned that Mississippi game where they turned the corner. But there's also been times where South Carolina was right there to turn the corner.
Right. By the way, Texas A&M ranked 21. We were number 9.
Yeah, and a double-digit favorite, by the way. I got 11.
Get it out of your system because we're moving forward.
We're going to exercise some of these. John Strickland will join us in the 8 o'clock hour. We got a lot to get to. If you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100. It is the early game. Still got the disabled vehicle I-20 westbound at Broad River Road, and we've got the 2 accidents to report right now. Highway 1 at I-77 and I-26 eastbound at I-126. Also, we got a stop-and-go situation, I-26 westbound between Highway 1 and Bush River Road. Like I said, they're doing some road work there, so just kind of be careful if you're heading either side of 26 around Highway 1 and Bush River Road. High today, again, expected to be in the low 80s. Low tonight be around the mid-60s, and then we will have rain scheduled for later in the week. You're listening, hour number 2 to the early game coming up. $7 a.m. Get up and get going. And I will say, just as a remembrance, 9/11 today, 23 years ago. And I remember where I was. You talking about 2001, Preston, that particular year. I remember where I was at about this time, driving in to the campus. I was working for computer services at the time and was coming across the Blossom Street Bridge. I was coming across the Blossom Street Bridge when they broke in with a news report. I think a little bit later. I had to be at computer services at 8 a.m. So it was about 30 minutes from now. But they broke in and started giving the news of what was taking place in New York. I actually had an uncle that had been in 2001. This was the day coming off, or the week after, I believe the Monday. I believe it was the Monday, if I'm thinking correctly, after y'all had gone to Georgia and Phil Petty had hooked up with Brian Scott there in the final seconds. We mentioned Derek Watson had the long kick return after Georgia taking the lead. I actually had an uncle that had been in town with us. He was living in New York and was flying back up that morning. His plane got redirected to Raleigh, and he had to get off there and then rent a car before everything really broke loose, and was driving back up to New York because all the flights were grounded. But do you remember anything specific on that day?
Yeah, I do remember something very specific. Obviously, we're talking about 9/11, and we gathered in as a team. Everybody's hard to think about the consideration of how scarce information was at the time and how much we did not have these devices to figure out what was happening. And there was 3 specific teammates who had mothers who were flight attendants.
Oh.
And I remember them not knowing exactly what was happening with their parents. And so we're trying to figure out what was in a team meeting, and everybody was kind of like, they were kind of expressing their doubts and uncertainty about what was happening because they just didn't have contact with them. So it was a very, very interesting situation because there was real personal contact to that moment.
Yeah, it's 23 years ago today. Again, I don't remember, and don't have the exact time of all the occurrences, but I do remember driving in, coming across Blossom Street Bridge, coming out of Casey, and the news coming on and getting to computer services on campus, where then everybody was huddled around a TV and things were happening. Back to football on this. The side note on that: do you remember who the opponent was going to be the following Saturday?
I don't. I know who we played eventually, but I don't remember who
the following week you would go to Mississippi
State. Was it Bowling Green?
Do you know who the coach was for Bowling Green?
Yeah.
Which is how I remember this.
Young Urban Meyer.
A young Urban Meyer at Bowling Green.
Lou Holtz had given one of his proteges a little hookup.
So, yeah. So it was again, a wild, for a sophomore in college and everything, a wild time, I think, for all of us. And the weird thing is, I believe because we have historical markers on campus, historical buildings, I remember like we were don't want to say ushered off of campus, but there was something with a lockdown just because nobody knew what was going on. And they actually, I think, asked us to evacuate the campus for fear of something happening on the University of South Carolina.
Yeah, it was just a lot. And again, there was so much. Maybe think about it now. Maybe it's better that we didn't have these devices that could send all types of misinformation, disinformation around. We all could get a centralized perspective on it. But it was a lot. And, obviously we were the first team to play after in the first team in the nation to play after that. And so it was a weird experience getting on a plane, going through all of those things where it sounds weird to say, but previous to that, and folks of age would know this, but we would kind of just drive up to the plane and get on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it was probably not the best system, but after that, we had to have ID, we had to do all these different things and all of these different checks and balances that immediately the world changed after that moment.
So that was, KT from Lexington. Yep, that was the Mississippi State game. I think Andrew Pinnock had a long touchdown run in that game, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, one of my favorite games. Another kind of rock'em sock'em showdown. We put in Corey Jenkins. He ran the ball 55 times, and we just basically beat those dudes up. But it was one of the moments of my life that I'll never forget. That feeling, standing around the field, holding the flag, all of those moments, and it was a really special time.
So that football game was a good moment.
Yes.
We have been going back through trying to help you purge some bad memories. Get them out of your system. And we need everybody, because when we do Vibe Check on Friday.
That's right. We don't want to hear this about, we don't want to hear it. Get it out now.
Get it out, and several of y'all are indeed doing that. Marshall weighs in. Has to be the Kenny Hill game for me, too. Debut of the SEC Network. That's true.
Wow.
The night before had been the Spurrier documentary. As Marshall says, supposedly we had the best offensive line in the SEC, and our defense was going to be even better. I was actually talking to Preston about this off air, about being at a Gamecock Club meeting, I believe out in Irmo somewhere, and Lorenzo Ward saying, "Yeah, we're going to be fine. In fact, we're going to be better." And Marshall points out, defense was going to be better even without Clowney and crew. Greg McElroy picked us to win the SEC and be in the playoff, or that year it would have been the BCS. And Marshall, it wasn't just how wrong all of that was. It was how quickly it was obviously wrong.
Let's play that clip again. Producer A, can we play clip 26 one more time, sir? If we could get that. Yeah, because I think this is the concept. Can we get that now? About how quickly it was. Clip 26, sir.
Noise. Middle. Beautiful toss. Touchdown. Aggies score on their first drive. Ricky Seals-Jones. And the underdog comes out barking with a...
The underdog. That people forget again. South Carolina was a double-digit favorite in that game. And I'm with Marshall on that. When he says how quickly, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. And it was really the second quarter when it escalated, because it was only 10-7 at the end of the first quarter. South Carolina went back down and scored. Dylan Thompson threw a pass down the left side to somebody. And Thompson, by the way, that night just gets lost in this. Thompson was 20 of 40 for 366 and 4 touchdowns in that game. That's pretty solid. Kenny Hill was 44 of 60 for 511 and 3 touchdowns. And so we are trying to purge these memories. You can laugh. I would encourage you to laugh. As we are doing, I would encourage you to laugh about them, to get it out of your system, because as we are saying, and we will continue to say for the next 8 hours of our radio time through Friday, Saturday is a big game, and you should be fired up, and you should be making your tailgating plans now, and you should be getting ready for Saturday, rain or shine or whatever, and getting to game day, and maybe even going out. I don't know. I didn't look. I'll confirm that. By the way, Texas A&M, I'm just looking at stats. Texas A&M's 39 first downs and 680 yards in that game.
680?
I forgot it was 680. I've purged some of this. So we want you to purge it too. And what I was going to say is I don't know if Pat McAfee is doing his show Thursday and Friday from out there, or just Friday. So there's reasons to go down and hang around the stadium and fully immerse yourself in what is a monster game in Columbia. This is a good one. Somebody weighed in on a game that they were really upset about, and I want to go back to it. I need to confirm something to this, but it mentions the 2022 game against Missouri here, where we were ranked for the first time in several years, and we thought we were about to turn the program around. The 2022 game, and Missouri came in here, and it was just ugly.
It was an ugly game. It was homecoming. I remember that specific game, and that's the game where I remember looking around and seeing this. That was my dreaded, and I told you I was over Marcus Satterfield. I'm not going to do this, but I remember getting a delay of game penalty out of the kickoff, and I was like, what are we doing? And it just sort of went downhill from there. Yeah,
that was a good one. I'll have to go back and pull that up, because that's the point of what we're doing today. If South Carolina wins this week, I'm going to assume that they're going to be ranked. They will still be in first place in the SEC.
Correct.
They get Akron on deck. Should be 4-0. They get a bye week, and then they will get Mississippi, which that game, again, I don't think Game Day would come back 3 weeks later. However, that will likely feature a top 20 South Carolina team and likely a top 5 Mississippi team. So I can see a scenario where Game Day is like, oh, we got to come back for that one.
It's very possible. It's all on the table.
This is what's on the line for this week. 803-404-6100. So we're helping you purge. Get it out of your system. Laugh a little bit. We've been laughing about the Florida game. Now we've moved on to laughing a little bit about the Texas A&M game, because I forgot some of those stats in that ball game.
Did you say 680?
680 total yards of offense for Texas A&M that night. Let's get out to the phone line. Steve wants to weigh in. Steve, you got a game that broke your heart?
Yeah, man, but I'm going to go far back. You guys probably weren't even born yet. So, anyway, it was the year that Carolina was going to go to a big bowl. I mean, I think it was 7-1. And we went up there and played Navy with Napoleon, the quarterback, man. And George Rogers did his thing, but Navy had this offense I never heard of Navy, but we was tackling the wrong guy. We knew who had the ball. I mean, and that just took our spirit, because we wanted to lose to Clemson. I forgot what bowl. We was going to a big bowl, and Navy just spoiled. I think I was about 17 years old. I'm 60 years old now. That's how far I go back. And every time I see George Rogers, I mention it to him. He said, man, I don't want to talk about that game. He said, can you just go and paint my car for me? And let's not talk about that game. Let's talk about it now. Because he said that's still his head. And I know it's a long time ago, man, but that game there is every time I see Navy, I think about that game 40-something years ago. But that's the one that really, stuck with me, because I love the Jim Collins and the Gamecocks back then. I still love the Gamecocks now. But that one game there is just, I know some old fans can relate to it. It broke us down, bro. And that's when I remember the most. That's what I remember the most. Thank you, fellas.
Appreciate it.
Now, I'll tell you, you might be confusing two different games. He is right. Obviously, that Navy game, unfortunately, goes down in folklore as, a matter of fact, I just looked it up, and I just was looking something up on it, and it says greatest disaster. But the Navy game, actually, George Rogers didn't play in that, and Joe Morrison was the coach. Now, what Scott might have been talking about, and I don't know all the exact details, but it was a road game again, and it was on ABC, I believe. Somebody can correct me. And it was George Rogers versus Herschel Walker in Athens, where Herschel had a big game, but George is running in to win the game and had a hurt hand and got hit on that hand and fumbled, and they lost. That was part of the documentary King George that the SEC Network has done, where I've seen that. I was not born. We were not allowed. Neither of us was alive in 80 for that game. But that was another one that, again, and we're trying to be a little more specific as to home games that you got fired up for, that you felt was likely going to be a turning point or a change to the trajectory of the program. And unfortunately for a lot of us, there's a lot of games. By the way, I'm right. That game, South Carolina was 6-1 going to Georgia on November 1st, number 4 Georgia, and South Carolina was number 14 and lost 13-10. I think that's the game that he is referring to. South Carolina had lost that year to Southern Cal out in Los Angeles, and would end up losing the Clemson game as well, 27-6, and then get blown out by, I believe, Dan Marino in Pittsburgh, 37-9.
That kid ended up being pretty good.
He wasn't bad. But, but if you've got
the point is to purge it. Get it out your system, because Friday vibe check comes along. I don't want to hear anything about, we do, and I don't want to hear the pole mouthing. Get it out your system now, and we're moving forward. That's why we're doing it, because we get a text from Texter Ways who doesn't understand the game, doesn't understand what we're doing. Says focusing on negative before a big game, only in South Carolina. No, we're helping you purge. We are helping you. We're not worried about the team. We can't help them. Yeah.
It's up to Shane Beamer. We're helping you, the fan, get rid of some of this stuff.
Acknowledge it. We acknowledge it, address it, and move on.
That's right. 803-404-6100, how you can weigh in. We'll get back into some stuff Shane Beamer said from yesterday. You're listening to the early game. All right, y'all are bumping and banging around out there. I know we're going down a path this morning. We're trying to help you purge some stuff, but stay focused on driving. Got a couple accidents to report now. Colonial Drive at Hardin Street. Highway 1 at I-77, still an issue. I-26 eastbound at I-126. I mentioned that earlier, kind of as you go around the corner going eastbound on I-26. There's a little bit of a tie-up right there, and I've already had an accident occur, so be careful. I-26 westbound at Highway 1, also an accident to report. Still have a disabled vehicle, I-20 westbound between Monticello Road and Broad River, and it's stop-and-go traffic right now on I-26 westbound between Augusta Road and Bush River Road. You're listening to the early game. $7:20. Get up. Get going today. You just heard the traffic report. Try not to run into anybody out there. Try to just drive safely. Enjoy the morning. And as we've said, let's try to purge some bad. I don't want any of you. This happened last week. This is why we're doing this. And I agree with Preston. A lot of y'all were negative last week. Oh, we were awful against Old Dominion. I don't think we're going to win more than 3 games now. Maybe not more than 2. How are we going to live? How are we going to survive? And lo and behold, South Carolina went up and had no problem at all with the Kentucky Wildcats. I want you to be positive on Friday when we do our vibe check. I want you to be positive out of your mind. I want you to be so I want zero work done on Friday because you're so fired up and you believe so much that South Carolina's going to win this game.
Can't even control yourself.
Right. So we're helping you purge bad memories because if we're being honest with ourselves.
That's another key part of this.
A little bit of a history here for the University of South Carolina. Some of y'all remember some way better than I do. And I feel like I've got a good memory even back to like when I was 6 years old. And a couple of y'all brought up, actually, I don't know if I was 6. I could have to go back and look and get the exact details. Preston, I don't know what you remember, but several people have weighed in with the Florida State game in 1988.
Okay. All right. I'm here for it.
Do you know anything about it?
I don't know anything about it.
Okay. I remember my mother and father went to the game. It was a night game. It was on ESPN. That was prime.
That's big time.
That was prime time. I stayed with my grandmother. That was prime time Florida State. I believe prime time actually was playing for Florida State at that point. But South Carolina going into that game was ranked 15th. Mm-hmm. South Carolina was 15th in that game. They were 7-1 on November the 5th.
Ooh.
Rolling. Joe Morrison had it rolling, and they lost 59-0.
Ooh.
Just 3 weeks prior, South Carolina was undefeated and up to number 8 in the country and lost to Georgia Tech over there. Some people have weighed in with that one, 34-0. That was right around the steroid scandal. As a matter of fact, Joe Morrison, unfortunately, would pass away that offseason. But, that was another one at home. Florida State came into the game ranked 5th in the country. South Carolina was 15th and went poorly.
That qualifies.
Now, what we may have to do tomorrow to offset this is come back in with big games where South Carolina has performed.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Come back.
That's what we will do.
But we're asking you to purge these memories today. And part of that is because game day's in town. And I tell you what, producer Ed, let's go back. I forget which cut it is because we had a little mix-up. But let's play what Shane Beamer had to say about game day being a big deal.
No, I do. I can remember, watching it for sure, but then being at Virginia Tech in '99, that was my senior year of college, and that was the year we went undefeated and played for the national championship. And game day came to Blacksburg, I think twice that year for Syracuse and the Miami games, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember what a huge deal that was, that game day is coming to Virginia Tech. And then over the years, getting to know Kirk Herbstreit on a personal level and getting to know Chris Fowler and Reese Davis now and Pat McAfee in the last couple of years, getting to know those guys has been cool. And then certainly I'm a fan whenever we're in the hotel on game days, home or away. I'm watching it if we're not in meetings or eating or whatever we do as a team, because I'm just a college football fan and enjoy watching it without a doubt. I remember in 2010 when they were here when we played Alabama. I think we had an off week the week before because we had lost to Auburn, if I'm not mistaken, the week before. And I remember we were working that Sunday, and I think I told you guys Sunday night, I ran in the subway over here on Assembly Street to get lunch. And I remember coming out of Subway and my wife telling me that it had just been announced that GameDay was coming to Columbia for the Alabama game 6 days later, and how exciting that was. And it's the same feeling now as well as the head coach. So it's awesome for our community, and great that they're coming here. And now we need to make sure they walk out of here saying that's a place we need to come back to, and we need to do our part to play well and make it a memorable day.
And that's part of it. That's why we're doing it this morning. There is roles for everybody this week, Preston Thorne, for the team to go out and perform, for the coaching staff to go out and have a good game plan in line here to help Lenoris Sellers. We'll talk a little bit about him coming up throughout the morning, but also on the fans to make this an incredible environment, to purge all this bad stuff and realize South Carolina is at a place in what truly is this year a new era of college football. I allowed myself, I had to do an interview out in Memphis yesterday, and I don't know if I was being made fun of or what happened, but I talked about the importance of this game. And I also talked about how we're seeing now some games, some teams, we're learning about them. And so as I'm going through, I said, if South Carolina can win this game, you get Akron next, and then you got that stretch there with Mississippi and Alabama, who look really good. I'm not buying Oklahoma.
There you go.
And I'm not buying Texas A&M.
There you go.
And I don't know what to make of Missouri.
Correct.
And I'm being serious. I'm not buying Clemson.
You're on it.
And I didn't say this, okay? I didn't say this, but I basically said what I just said about these teams on the schedule. And one of the guys that was in this little internet podcast, whatever it is, whatever Rob Brown does out in Memphis, that I enjoy being on with them. And one of the guys that was on from Nashville went, well, that's 10-2. Do you know where you end up?
Ooh, okay. You just keep driving and you're like, how'd we get here?
Exactly. 10-2. And look, we're having fun with this, but that is part of what's this team, Preston, you've been part of teams that started winning and confidence built, and it just turns into a magical season. And again, I'll say this, I'm not overly impressed with Oklahoma. I'm not overly impressed with Texas A&M. I'm not overly impressed with Clemson right now. If you made me rank the toughest games from here on out, I would actually have Mississippi ahead of Alabama, but I'd have Alabama second. And then at least based on what I've seen from Missouri, which is 2 blowouts, they've shut out both Murray State and Buffalo. But again, what does that mean? They play a ranked team this week in Boston College. I don't know what we're dealing with Missouri. And if South Carolina continues to win, and you win a game like this against a brand name team, it does change the trajectory. I don't know what it was like for y'all in 2000 when you beat Georgia, even though y'all might have thought it, but to actually get the victory and the fans to flood the field again and tear down goalposts and all the things that came with that.
It makes you legit. And, Shane talks about narratives a lot. And we talk about the idea of narratives. Well, you go out there and you beat an LSU team who we don't know how actually good they are, but they are a name brand team. While South Carolina is on the fringes of being a name brand team, all of a sudden our people are back. People are trying to figure out what's going on with Shane Beamer, what's going on in Columbia, what they have the freshmen, what's going on there. All of these things starting to come into place. So it does change the perception of where the program is. Not to mention you get to be 3-0, which is something that we haven't done in a while.
Let's give you a chance to win a pair of tickets right now. We've talked so much about this game, and we're building it up, and we're hyping it up, and we're allowed to do that. We don't play the actual game. As far as I know, none of y'all, actually, the fans out there, play the game, but it is your responsibility to go and cheer. So we're going to give a pair of tickets away right now. We'll give it to caller number 3, since if they win, it's the 3rd straight victory. 803-404-6100. Caller number 3, you win a pair of tickets to Saturday's game over over at Williams-Brice Stadium for South Carolina and LSU. We'll do that. We'll come back. We'll get into a few more things Shane Beamer said yesterday as it pertains to Lenoris Sellers and talk about him. Keep sending in your games you're trying to purge, you're trying to move on from. We're helping you do that this morning. You're listening to the early game. All right, let's try and be safe out there. You guys and girls are bumping into each other left and right. We got a couple accidents to report. Colonial Drive at Hardin Street, where we got a little bit of an incident. Highway 1 at I-77, still have an issue there. Mentioned it, just be careful going from I-26 eastbound on the right where it turns at I-126. I came through that this morning. There was a backup there. Matter of fact, it's still kind of stop and go in that direction. So just be careful as you're coming down I-26 eastbound heading toward Charleston, where it divides from 126 as well. And then we got another incident to report, I-26 westbound at Highway 1, so be careful there. Again, weather today, supposed to get into the low 80s. That'll be nice. Low tonight, 66, and rain later this week. You're listening to the early game. $7:35. Congratulations to Mr. Jim Kinsey as he wins a pair of tickets to the South Carolina LSU game. Reminder, the tickets, and we're going to give away another pair coming up in the next hour, but the Carolina football ticket giveaway, always sponsored by Carolina Honda Powerhouse. So thank you to Carolina Honda Powerhouse for sponsoring our Carolina football ticket giveaway, and we will give away another pair in the next hour that you will have a chance to win, as we've talked a lot about this team. Now, one of the big questions for the weekend, Preston, the continued growth of Lenoris Sellers and what Sellers can do this weekend, and part of it is going to be handling the pass rush, and I apologize, producer Ed, but let's play number 14 right here, because, Preston, this is Lenoris Sellers. For them to win, for us to purge all these bad thoughts and walk out of Williams-Brice Stadium around 3:30 on Saturday, happy, feeling like new people, Lenoris Sellers has to play well. Here's what Shane Beamer said yesterday about Lenoris Sellers handling the pass rush.
I thought he did a good job. One, we need to protect it better, because on a couple of those we should have been protected, and he didn't expect to get hit because we should have been protected, so we've got to protect it better. But I thought the play that he made on the play over on Kentucky's sideline to Mazio was a big-time play. And where we should have been protected, we got beat, and then there's a guy that he's not expecting to be there, is in his vision, and he has the athleticism to evade that guy. I love Spencer. I would tell Spencer this. Last year, that's probably a sack with Spencer. But Lenoris is able to make that guy miss, evade the rush, keep his eyes downfield, and then find Mazio for a big play. I think that was third down over there on their sideline as well. So I think he'll just get more and more comfortable with those things. But you showed what he can do, and it goes back to what Rick said, just the being comfortable, being confident in what we're doing, where he knows where his answers are. He knows where to go with the ball. And you know, I thought he did a much better job Saturday of just kind of relaxing and just going and making plays and just go play ball. And that's what he'll need to do Saturday for sure.
And that's what, there's no other way to describe it, Preston Thorne. That is what he will need to do. He has to take care of the football. Offensive line has to block, but it comes back to, I don't know how that works for a quarterback. Like, you've got to expect, if that pocket's crumbling around you, that you're going to get hit, and you got to have more ball security.
Yeah, that's the same. I don't know how that works for a quarterback, because the idea of being able to look downfield while somebody 310 pounds is coming to eat my lunch, that is a very difficult skill. That is the only thing that I think Lenoris with time is going to improve, is just, I think, and it's a mystical idea, but pocket presence,
right?
Just the feel of the pressure, being able to evade some of those things. Not athleticism. We already know that he's a better athlete than Spencer was. Shane continuously states that.
Yeah.
And he's right. But not that. But what Spencer had was pocket presence. And so maybe in some of those situations where Lenoris got hit against Kentucky, Spencer might have been able to feel those things and use his limited athletic ability to move up in the pocket.
And, you know, again, there was a picture I saw yesterday. It was, I believe, from a Kentucky. I should have liked it on Twitter, but it's basically one of the fumbles. There's only one. There's three Kentucky guys surrounding the football, and the only South Carolina guy in the picture is belly down on the ground, and somehow South Carolina recovered it.
Yeah, that was a rough one. That's when you got to go back to the fundamentals of how to recover a fumble, because you never try to recover a fumble by jumping onto the ball, and that's what big number 0 did. He tried to jump strictly onto the ball, and while we glad he didn't deflate it, the ball also scooted away from him, and all of them somehow did not get that ball.
That'll be part of it as to how the game is slowing down. And I tell you what, let's play this one real quick, Ed. This is 13 because I do want to hear your opinion as a former player. I know it's defensive line against quarterback, but as you play more, the game truly slowing down and what that really means. I'm interested to hear that. But this is Shane Beamer yesterday talking about the game slowing down for Lenoris Sellers.
Yeah, I think so. I thought he had a better week of practice last week throwing the football than what he did the week before. Going into the Old Dominion game. So in my mind, last week in practice, things started to be, continue to get more and more comfortable for him. And certainly that carries over to the game. And then you would hope it would be the same thing in practice as well, the following week, this week. Because, every week we have a specific game plan. The way that Kentucky plays defense is different than the way that LSU plays defense. But we also try not to have just brand new offenses every week as far as scheme goes, so a lot of the same plays, the play that we scored on with Mazio, the first touchdown was literally the first play of the game against Old Dominion. We just went the other way. We rolled to the right and Lenoris kept it. Saturday we rolled to the left and he threw it, but it's the same play, so I think as we continue to try and change how the play looks, formations and motions and things like that. But conceptually, you're doing the same things. Like I said, every week is different. There's going to be new things that we do this week because it fits LSU better than it did Kentucky. But we try and keep the bulk of our offense the same week to week, run game and pass game. So there is a lot of carryover and continuity. And the more you do something, the more comfortable and confident you're going to get at it.
What does that? You hear this all, game slowing down. What does that actually mean for a football player?
What it means is that you've taken more reps, you have more pattern recognition, so your brain is able to recognize things that you know will happen and you can anticipate them, and you're able to get out of your mind. And what I mean by getting out of your mind is that you don't have this constant dialogue of, okay, I need to 3-step drop, look to my right, check down. You're not going through this inner dialogue, and what happens is you just end up actually playing because you've had more reps, you've seen all the anticipated outcomes, and now you're able to sort of shortcut those things. So you can say the game is slowing down. Some people say that your thinking is speeding up. However you want to describe it, it's just that you've been exposed to these things more times, and so you're able to make faster, cleaner. This happens in every industry. If you're out there listening now, you probably have, if you have a sales job, you go in to make a sale, the game slows down a little bit. You're able to anticipate objections. You're able to do things. It happens in every job with more reps and more opportunities. So that's kind of what they mean.
Do you think it's more difficult because of everything a quarterback has to process than just, say, a defensive lineman? Let's just use Dylan Stewart as an example, who is just back there like, all right, tackle the quarterback. And now you got Lenoris who's like, all right, I got to read if this blitz is coming here, what that safety is doing there. Is that for him what he's got to pick up now?
Yeah, considerably. There's definitely more things because as a defensive lineman, I can just say, hey, listen, man, I'm going to get off the ball and I'll figure stuff out later. When you get into the game, you're like, oh, that's a reach block versus a down block versus a double. Oh, they're scooping. You get into all of those things.
That was very footballsy right there. That was
scooped around. But wait till my partner Strick gets in here. But if you're a defensive lineman, I can just say, you know what? I don't know what's happening. I'm just going to get off the ball fast.
Right.
As a quarterback, you can't do that because you will mess things up. And so your whole game is to think the game before it happens.
803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in. We might have to go back to this. Texter says, are we still doing transfer portal talk? We might have to revisit, let you know how some people do there. But, yeah, we're helping you purge today. And Brad from Belton says, I'd like to purge last year's Florida game from my memory as well as the 2014 Tennessee game. I'm with you, Brad. And that's the point. I am ready to see this. I am ready to see what South Carolina looks like on Saturday. 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, producer Ed Bird. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years, Larry Leitner, the owner and founder of Mid-State Roofing, has led the company to being the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. It's their proven history that is your assurance that their professionals will provide proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility in a manner both safe and pleasing to your operation. So we've been talking about purging bad memories this morning from your Gamecock football past. Well, guess what? Mid-State Roofing, they will bring great memories in how they handle your operation. Whether it's a high-rise or a hospital, manufacturing or industrial, Mid-State Roofing will design and install a bonded system with a protective guarantee that'll keep your operation dry and running long into the future, and they do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Give them a phone call. You'll speak with an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee. 803-356-1919. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek.
South Carolina, Kentucky, one of the marquee games of the weekend in the SEC. Two teams came in 2-0. Kentucky hadn't been 3-0 since 2010. South Carolina hadn't since 2012. And the oh-so-dangerous Deebo Samuel. First play from scrimmage, Jake Bentley finds him, and it's just more of the same for Deebo.
He's a game changer. There's no question about it. Every single game we watch these guys play, this guy shows up. Sometimes it's on the jet sweep. Sometimes it's in the pass game. Sometimes it's in special teams. But he's going to be there.
What?
Several of y'all weighing in this morning. Read the latest to do it. I'd like to purge the 2017 Kentucky game. Blackout game, electric student section, fast start, couldn't finish the job against a bad Kentucky team. Could have won 10 games that year. That's Reed and Blythewood, and that is another one that people would like to purge. And one other thing, too, in listening to that, there was a key stat that who was that? Who was that announcer? Was that John? I don't know who that was. But the bottom line is, did you catch the stat in there that is back on the line for this Saturday?
2-0. Both teams were 2-0 going into the game.
2-0. Mm-hmm. South Carolina has not been 3-0. Has not started the season 3-0 since 2012. And yes, that was a game. I remember doing the game with Heath Klein and I were doing the pregame, and we talked about the energy and electricity that was around the stadium that morning. It was a night game, but we talked about the energy that you could already feel. I think we were doing it about 2 o'clock, 5 hours before the game, and people were fired up. And after the 2015 season with Steve Spurrier retiring and everything, and then the 2016 season, which that was Muschamp's first year, and it was kind of a preview of what was to come, where the life just was sucked out. South Carolina was okay that year. They won that Tennessee game late in the year, but there was actual excitement. People were fired up, and it did feel like Muschamp was about to turn the program that particular year, and that was the game to do it, because that was also in the middle of that Kentucky losing streak.
first play from scrimmage, little RPO, Debo catches it, races down the sidelines. Everybody's like, oh, this is it. It's happening. It's happening. Immediately missed the extra point. Did not score again until the fourth quarter.
Yeah. That was one that I could, again, it'll be an early game, a noon game here on Saturday. But there's going to be some similarities, and it's time for us to purge those bad memories. Get rid of them. Get them out of your system. Show up. Start showing up. Somebody asked earlier, and when I made the comment about Friday, we want you to be overly positive. We want you to have just no belief that anything can go wrong. And somebody said, oh, so you want us on Friday to act like Shane Beamer.
It's working so far. Let's do it.
Be positive. This is what I said last Friday. You got to stay with your team. You got to be ultra positive until proven otherwise. And we want to purge these memories. We want to get those out of your brain. And we want you to think strictly of positive. So when you show up, even if something goes wrong, you're still positive, like, we got this. We got a defense that can make something happen.
Now, tomorrow, we'll get into the ins and outs of the game and maybe why there may be some reason for concern, some things to look towards and look against. But for today, we focused on our attention on this game. We're moving forward. We are excited. We're ready to go.
And that's the big thing, because it'll be a lot of fun. It's going to be a great environment. I think it'll be a great environment starting really tomorrow. I actually was down there yesterday. I drove around because I'm really interested, Preston, to see where Game Day sets up and how they do this. I know it's going to be set up on Tommy Suggs Garnet Way there in between the practice facility and the stadium. But you think about it, they're going to have what I'm guessing is they're going to have the Game Day crew facing the practice facility so that the cameras are catching Reese and Herbstreit and all those guys with the stadium in the background. But as I was out there yesterday, and I don't really park. I've gone over there and tailgated, but I don't park in Gamecock Park. But I know there's a lot of parking spots, and if you look at it, I would imagine it's going to be a monster crowd. And so I'm not really sure how that works, trying to get that crowd in there and also allow other people to park their cars where they typically would.
Yes, it'll be a logistics thing, but that's why people who get paid more money than us are there to figure those things out. Your job is just to get there if you're going.
Right.
Get there early, be excited. And also, as we talked about, enjoy this time because, as you mentioned, in 2001 when Game Day came here, they were in the fair parking lot, dusty,
it was
dirty, desolate. And now we have Japanese maples in Gamecock Park and public restrooms, pavement, all types of accoutrements that we have now. So let's go out there, showcase our town, and enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's going to be – the Horseshoe has been great. The Horseshoe has been phenomenal. I think they've done it from there the last 2 times. If I'm right, might be 3, but I know it's been at least the last 2. But I go back to this. This is an opportunity for South Carolina, not just for the fan base, but for everybody involved in Game Day operations to showcase what they've done with Gamecock Park. I think this initially is what Gamecock Park was built for. And you've got the opportunity because of having the noon game. And, again, they'll move inside at 11 o'clock. Reminder, university-owned parking. University-owned parking. So Gamecock Park and the fairgrounds, that will open at 6 a.m. for you to get out there. And remember, the show doesn't start till 9. So if you get out there at 6, pace accordingly. Pace accordingly. But again, university parking will open at 6 o'clock. Again, that'll be the fairgrounds. That'll be Gamecock Park. And then the show will go on at 9 o'clock. And don't forget, you can hang out with Terry and Tyler and then carry them right on over to Game Day, just like you would goalposts. Just pick both of them up, put them on your shoulder, and just carry them right on over there. They'll be at Sound and Images starting at 7 o'clock on Saturday morning. So we'll have our own Game Day, and then you just carry them right on over, and I'll tell you more about how to do that. Hour 3 on the way. All right, we got a lot of stuff cleaned up now, or at least for the most part. We still have an incident at I-26 westbound and Highway 1, and still an incident at Colonial and Hardin right now. So those are the two areas to avoid. We also have an object in the road. It's not clear what the object is. Could be a hat, could be a shoe, could be another car. But there's an object in the road at Hardscrabble and Faro Road right now. So if you're heading down that way, keep an eye out. Text us. Let us know what the object is. I'm intrigued. Again, high today, expected to be in the low 80s. Low tonight, mid 60s, and rain coming in. Somebody asked earlier, what does rain do to the pass rush? Well, we'll get to the bottom of that coming up this hour. You're listening to the early game. Hour 3, and we are expecting Big John Strickland to arrive. Otherwise, what did Holtz do when you were late to a meeting?
No such thing. No such thing. It's not going to happen. Let's
let me just tell you, I hung out with some of the same teammates that you had. There was a couple that being on time was quite the chore.
You do whatever you want in your personal life. Not here. On time is late. Late is unheard of.
We've talked a lot this morning about purging these bad games. There has been times, really for every coach, and some have succeeded, some have not succeeded. I'm really truthfully trying to go back through some Brad Scott days and remember when Big Brad might have had it right about to turn around or have a big opportunity and didn't take advantage of it. Lou Holtz, for 2 years, y'all did. And we think back to that Florida game in 2001, because that also kind of, I don't want to say the end. That's not fair. But you think about what happened in 2002, 5-7, 2003, 5-7, and then 2004, y'all got it back to 6-5. But unfortunately, all that was ruined, and didn't go to the bowl game. And we now know what happened with Steve Spurrier. Steve Spurrier had an opportunity to turn the program to another level. You can look at several different games if you want. I kind of go back to the 2009 Mississippi game on a Thursday night, and Mississippi was number 4, whether they deserved to be number 4 or not. They were number 4. South Carolina won the game, really turned the narrative. Later in the year, they would beat Clemson and start the 5-game win streak over the Tigers. And then the next year would be the 9-4 SEC championship team, or SEC Eastern Division championship team. So you look at it and you can kind of say, well, maybe, and I think prior, I got to go back and look here, but I think prior to 09, there had been some chances. A lot of y'all have hit us with the 06 Vanderbilt game, which not only did Preston purge it, he doesn't have any recollection.
Somebody must have hit me with the Men in Black stick on that one, because I have zero recollection of that game.
Yeah, and that was, South Carolina was 6-1. They'd gotten into the top 10. Everybody thought Spurrier was back. He was kind of doing it with smoke and mirrors with Chris Smelley, and I want to say that maybe it was 06. Maybe Chris Smelley and Blake Mitchell. Blake Mitchell were the two guys that did it. South Carolina actually played at LSU that year, went down there in a downpour on a 3:30 CBS game, and couldn't quite pull out the victory. But South Carolina got to 6-1. But much like we talked about Spurrier, much like we look at Holtz, again, go back to Brad Scott, which I don't know. I really interested to go back and see if there's a game that we can pinpoint in the Scott era where maybe if it had gone a different way, that team takes off. Will Muschamp seemed to get a couple opportunities, Preston, and his team could never get over the hump in big games like this.
Yeah, the big one I remember is coming off of that 2019, in 2019, coming off of the big unexpected Georgia upset. had the momentum going. Florida comes into town, and they're up winning early, and basically the game just gets salted away. They let it slip through their hands, and it was a rainy, kind of dreary day, and had an opportunity to win. As I said, Israel Mukwama gets held for 40 yards going downfield, and it just and that play was so ridiculous. The dude jumps off sides. The play still runs. They run the play. He gets held. All of that, yes, that did happen, but basically blew an opportunity when it felt like things were about to change. And as you think about pointing towards the ends of things, that might be something that you would look at and say, that was a very prescient turning point for the Will Muschamp era. You know what? And that is a game that we like to purge, I believe. South Carolina in that game, it was tied at halftime, 10-10 in that game. South Carolina scored early in the game. I don't want to say this is just that butterfly effect that we've talked about at points in life. Who knows? Maybe if South Carolina wins that game, maybe Ryan Helinski's career takes a different turn. South Carolina, again, I want to remind you on this. South Carolina had gone up in that game 17-10 when that holding and everything occurred, and it was a one-play 75-yard touchdown run for Florida to make it 17-17. But the Gamecocks recover. And this is what I always go back. The Gamecocks recovered, and they drive down 12 plays, 72 yards. And again, it's basically Tavian Feaster over the left side, where they again, Feaster for 5, Feaster for 13. Mon Denson, here's a name for you, 25. Mon Denson for 6. Notice a pattern happening here. Mon Denson for 14. Mon Denson for no gain. Mon Denson for 2. Feaster for 14 yards. First and goal at the 6. Play action. Helinski sacked. Gamecocks kick a field goal, and then Florida scores 21 in the fourth quarter, wins the ball game. That was kind of the moment for Will Muschamp, I think. And again, who knows, maybe Ryan Helinski. I think this is a big game for Shane Beamer. You just got so many things coming together here to really promote your program. We talked about how big this is as far as game day being here, as far as the opportunity to beat 3-0, as far as the chance to beat a name brand opponent, a name brand coach. All of these things to change or maybe even get on the national radar as far as people are paying attention to this program. Because to my ear, when I listen to national programs, I think because of who Shane is and the job that he's done in selling the program, people want to get on board with South Carolina. People are willing. You had McAfee talking about the way the scene is going to be in South Carolina. Josh Pate talking about how Williams-Brice is one of the greatest home field environments, underrated. People want this thing to happen. You just have to go out there and win games like this. Right. And this is, I think the other thing that we'll get more into tomorrow a little bit is trying to analyze what LSU is. They've lost their starting running back in John Emery. They've lost a big defensive tackle that was their starter. And Preston, you played against 2 Nick Saban coached LSU teams. What do you remember just about the aura? Because tomorrow you want to go down a path about who LSU is in their football life. But those teams that you played against, one was a national championship team in 2003, I believe, that came to Columbia and just stomped the Gamecocks 33-7 in that game. I remember being there was a night game, and I think it was a night game, but they just ran the ball, and it was clear very early on that physically it didn't seem like the 2 teams matched up. Yeah, it's kind of nameless, faceless opponents, because as I go back and look at those teams, I didn't realize, and I played a considerable amount in 2003, I believe. You know, Andrew Whitworth was its offensive tackle, and we ended up playing 19 years in the NFL, and I lined up against him for a significant amount of time. Those guys were good, strong teams at the time. But again, as I stated, that was Nick Saban's LSU. There's been a stretch with Les Miles' LSU for 1 year, Ed Orgeron's LSU for 1 year. Aside from that, and I will get into this tomorrow, who is this team aside from a nice helmet and really awesome fans? Let's play this. This is from yesterday. This is Shane Beamer talking about Rocket, Sanders, and the ground games. Number 9, producer Ed there. But Rocket, because talking about being physical, it does seem South Carolina is working
working to identify themselves as a ground and pound. We've heard Dow Loggins talk about it, and through the first two games, they're working on this. And Rocket Sanders does need to have a big game on Saturday. Here is Shane Beamer yesterday talking about Rocket Sanders and the ground game progress.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. It's nowhere near good as it needs to be. We need to be more efficient for sure. We've had, going back to Alan's question, we've had some negative runs and negative plays, and we've got to have positive yardage. In my mind, we're too good on the offensive line to have negative plays, and it's everybody. It's receivers, it's running backs, it's tight ends, it's quarterbacks, reads, it's everybody. So we've got to be more efficient. There's no question about it. I like schematically what we're doing. I thought there were some runs on Saturday that really could have been even more explosive than what they were. Rocket had one coming out. I think it was maybe the second play of the second half. We threw a little pass to Mike Smith, and then we went tempo and we handed it to Rocket, and he almost came out of that, and that could have been a long run. Robbie had one when he was in the game where he kind of stumbled, and for positive yardage, that was close to pop him. The touchdown that Rocket scored at the end of the game, I mean, that was great, just individual effort and physicality running through people. So we need to be better. Not everyone's going to be a 40, or not every play is going to be a 20, 30-yard run, but we need to make sure that we're, constantly running that thing for better than whatever we were yards per carry the other day. I think we were less than 3. We've got to be better.
The game within the game. How physical can South Carolina be? Because, Preston, you and I have talked about this at the beginning of the season. I don't know if you would have labeled the first 3 years of Shane Beamer's era, tenure, as South Carolina being a overly physical team. I don't know if you would ever label them that. This is that chance to really go out and create a narrative that South Carolina is a physical football team.
This is what they said they've wanted to be. This is an opportunity for them to prove that they are this type of team. They have the running back. The offensive line is going to be playing against the athletes of LSU. Let's see. Line them up and let's see. This is what it is.
803-404-6100, how you can weigh in this morning if you want to do so. We'll get into a few other things as well, give you a few more games that y'all are looking to purge. We'll wait patiently for your teammate. Boy, Lou Holtz would not be pleased with this, would he?
And listen, got to go do laps, whatever you need to do for this one for sure.
Well, we'll see if John Strickland does show up. You're listening to the early game. I just texted him again. Bill Gunner for Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning, where, as you've heard us talk this morning, big game this weekend. Another great weekend of college football. You got NFL taking place. Major League Baseball is coming down the home stretch. There is so much going on. Do you really want to be cleaning your home and missing these great moments? Instead, what you need to be doing is contacting Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning and taking advantage of their incredible fall of the game and get 3 rooms of carpet clean plus a hallway for just $129. Give them a phone call, 803-262-4020, or you can book online, zerorezcolumbia.com. Again, the phone number, 803-262-4020, is how you can give them a phone call and mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game, and get 3 rooms of carpet clean plus a free hallway for just $129. You don't want to miss out on what Zerorez is offering now, so call today. Zerorez, spell it backwards or forwards, it's the right way to clean. All right, we've gotten a lot of stuff kind of cleaned up this morning. Just 2 accidents to be reporting right now. Again, Colonial at Hardin Street, and then also I-26 westbound at Highway 1 are just the 2 incidents, but we should be moving past those here just a little while. Still an object in the road at Hardscrabble and Faro Road, but that's about all we've got going. So we're starting to clean things up, get moving. Maybe some of y'all have gotten so fired up this morning that you're just driving safer now, and I'm proud of you for doing that. Again, Colonial Boulevard and Hardin Street, I-26 westbound and Highway 1. Those are the 2 incidents to report. High today in the low 80s. High today in the low 80s. Low tonight around 65. And then we've got some rain coming in. And we'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow, how rain could impact this game. We'll have that one on the early game tomorrow to talk about. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, producer Ed Bird.
No.
None.
No.
Okay.
Unless they plan on asking me later in the week. I haven't had any say, and Steve's probably got more influence. I haven't talked to anyone or anybody about game day. I know about as much as y'all do.
Okay. Second thing.
If I did, I'd probably put Hunter, my son, up there. That would be like my pick. Just let him get up there and fire away.
That's the wise choice for Shane Beamer there, knowing that that's the safe play. Just mention your son. He'd love that. Very wise of him. But this is another part. This is another element, Preston, that I don't want to say dumb. It's not true. But you're picking somebody. You're hoping to get somebody that also represents your program and that has a sense of humor to like bring people in and make it look good.
It's fun. It's part of the fun. It's part of what we're seeing happening. It's part of the spectacle. It's part of the show, all of this. And so there's been a lot of conversation about who's going to be the celebrity guest picker. You've had everybody from obvious choices like Darius Rucker was an obvious choice that somebody could have had. Maybe you bring out a former great. You know, you might bring out like Steven Garcia. Obviously, we know the entertainment level would be high on that. There's all different people that could possibly be picked here. But there is a dark horse candidate who's picking up some steam.
Oh, no.
And I'm happy to say that the early game has always been on this beat.
Okay.
The early game has always been on this beat. Shout out to Twitter, Cinderella_SC did some sleuthing and realized that former South Carolina wide receiver and current WWE superstar Matrix Belton, a.k.a. Trick Williams, has been pulled from all live events this weekend.
Look, there is an element to this, and I'm going to be serious for a minute, and then I'm going to circle back. You want somebody who knows how to handle a mic.
Yes.
And let's be honest, most wrestlers, not all, most are mic men. They know how to do it. There will be a dude sitting up there on stage on Saturday who is a mic man.
Yes.
His name is Pat McAfee.
Yes.
He's got WWE ties. Mm-hmm. ESPN has started to dip their toes into the WWE water a tad.
If you remember the first game, who was the celebrity guest picker?
Sheamus. And there is an element to this where you want somebody who's got a little bit of national cachet, that where somebody watching in Minnesota or Kansas or somewhere in the middle, or go west, go even further west. But they're like, oh, I know that dude from Oh, he went to Carolina? Oh. And Matrix or Trick or whatever we're calling him is going to, you don't think for a second he won't get up there and when it's time to pick South Carolina, he won't flex a little bit? He might put Pat McAfee in a headlock.
Maybe body slam him off the stage.
He might accidentally misconstrue McAfee or somebody for Corso and he power slams Lee Corso. Yeah, like when Corso, I got a feeling Corso's going to make the easy pick here, being a touchdown dog and throw on the Tiger head or something. So that's a good one. That would be a really good one. And I think you incorporate the football program. You incorporate somebody who's going to be really good and have a lot of energy on stage. That's a really cool thing. And then I don't know if you have him, by the way, coming out of the train before the game, too.
I don't know if we could do that. But for those that don't remember, if you remember going by Williams-Brice when they had the man in the uniform, that was him at the time. And he probably wished NIL would have been played in because I don't think he got paid for that. But update to the situation.
Oh?
As of 22 minutes ago, according to X and Trick Williams, he placed the eye emojis over it.
I'm all for it.
What does that mean? Does that mean something? Does that mean nothing?
Here,
eye emojis, Bill. What does this mean?
I'm all for this. And I'll tell you, let me go back again to being serious. When in 2001, Lou Holtz was here. And I remember they had Lou on stage, and that was really kind of the pinnacle. Everything was going right. Everything was going, and you get Lou up there, and Lou with a magic trick here, pouring milk into a newspaper, and all that stuff. And Lou was kind of the star of the show. He had done it again. Lou Holtz had gone somewhere and turned the program around. And look at them now being they were 8-4 the year prior. You were at that point you were 8-2, I think, that season, if I'm thinking correctly. Is that right?
Something like that.
Yeah, lost to Tennessee, lost to Arkansas, 8-2. 7-2, I think, because Clemson was the following week. But my point is, Lou Holtz was kind of the star of the show. By the time Game Day circled back to South Carolina under Steve Spurrier, things were starting to turn. South Carolina was ranked. I don't know if people remember that. South Carolina was actually ranked, I believe. I think I'm 95% sure they were 17th or something when Alabama came to town. But again, Steve Spurrier was the star of the show, and you get him on there. I'm not saying that Shane Beamer is not the star of the show here, but this is a chance to showcase a matrix belt. And I'm sure they'll have Beamer at some point, maybe from being on the field as he does, walking around, and Shane's going to do an incredible job. But also those games, remember, the Alabama game was a 3:30 afternoon game where you had more time to get settled in. The Florida game was a night game. This is a chance to, again, really build momentum and showcase the area around Williams-Brice Stadium, which, look, if what do you want to say, 23 years ago in 2001, there was still the farmers market was over there.
Literally.
Yeah, that wasn't pretty Gamecock Park. That was the farmers market.
Literally to the point where you could smell the onions on specific days when it got hot enough.
Yeah, okay. The other side, the fairgrounds was a dust bowl. I'll never forget parking and walking over there. We had our orange juices with other beverages mixed in and watching some of it. It is now what they've done around there is a very nice setting, and you're going to showcase that, and you're going to showcase the fans. I'm guessing, I don't know when it occurs. I actually have not looked. The show comes on at 9, obviously. I'm guessing Gamecock Walk might go right by it.
Oh, possibly.
I don't know exactly what time. I've not seen a actual time of Gamecock Walk. That would be really cool to be having going on as Lee and Kurt and Reese and Desmond and Pat are all trying. Who knows? Pat McAfee may just join in the walk. Like, you don't know what that guy's going to do.
And Nick. You forgot Nick.
There is that great video of them at Texas A&M the first week where they're playing, I think, Little John, I believe it is, and McAfee's just dancing, and Nick Saban looks so annoyed. They've done a good job. They've done a good job. But I go back. That's why we are building up this game in the manner we are, Preston, that you agree with, because of what could come with this game.
But, Bill, what do the eye emojis, what does this mean?
So is it the side eye emojis? Let me see. What do you got here? Oh, yeah, the side eye emojis, kind of as if to indicate that he may know something.
Listen, this is a language you have to be fluent in. You have to be fluent in emoji speak.
It's true.
Because if you want to follow recruits, if you want to follow coaches throwing shade, you need to know what's going on. So above this tweet on X, Trick Williams put the side eyes. That doesn't mean he wants to come. Does that mean he's in process of coming? Does it mean he's been contacted? Does he know something we don't know? I don't know, Bill. It's all exciting.
I will just say I would assume for him and for WWE, he would want this.
Yeah, it's a huge moment.
I would assume this moves
awesome.
him to another tier.
Yeah, it would be awesome for him to be able to do this, for him to come back in his story, being a Columbia native. He's from Columbia. He went to Keenan High School. That would be such a returning triumphant moment for him and his family, and he comes from a great family, great stock. This would be really cool. So I do hope that it happens. And obviously, like you said, he will show up on the mic and whoop that trick, as he said. And then he plays this. Can we get the soundtrack going? I mean, there's a lot of possibilities here.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. My guess, if it's not him, I wondered about Asia Wilson or Quincy Hall because you've got Olympians. They can show up with their gold medals.
That's good too.
And look, Dawn would be a great pick too. But I think you just mentioned Asia's from here. You think about what she's done for the program.
It's a great one.
If you're wondering, she has been injured. But they play in Indiana on Friday night. And then they're back in Vegas on Sunday. And if you've never really paid attention, they've got the Wheels Up brand where it flies people in. So it's not impossible to fly her in or for her to fly in on Friday night after the game or early Saturday morning, do everything. I don't know if they would be honored. I'm assuming maybe we have. I don't know if we've honored her at a football game.
Well, at halftime of this game, the women's team will be honored.
See, there's another.
So there's a connection there. Yeah. Also, by the way, if you may or not be paying attention, Indiana Fever, watch out.
Yeah.
Watch out.
I got to go back and look at what
Watch out.
Dave Portnoy has put a wild bet on them.
Watch out.
And we'll kind of see where that goes. But to that point, and Hope on our live stream tells me Gamecock Walk is at 10 a.m., by the way. Yeah,
so they will definitely make that part of the broadcast for sure.
So it's if that's part of it, that's going to be really cool. But Asia, having her up there would be really, really cool because again, just won a gold medal. She's at the top of the game there in the WNBA. Having her back and who knows, maybe we can throw in a couple questions about her and Bam Adebayo and make that even a little more uncomfortable for her. But yeah, who knows where this is going to go with the game day picker. And again, that's what makes it all the more fun is to be able to do something like this and again showcase the university.
I'm excited. Again, we're purging. We got rid of all those bad memories. Let's look forward to the future because this can be very, very exciting.
Speaking of which, a couple of y'all have weighed in this morning. But this one right now, probably my favorite text as we have tried to purge bad memories. This comes from anonymous texter. If this purge works, it's got to be a yearly tradition. The purge of the chicken curse. I hope, and then it goes all caps, it strikes fear in the heart of opposing teams to hear they're playing us in the week of the chicken curse purge. I want Eli Drinkowitz shaking in his Nikes about this.
That's right. I like where you're going with this. We may start something.
We might be onto something there. So we'll see. 803-404-6100. We will, I'm guessing word will kind of leak out about who the picker is prior to Friday.
Yeah, I believe so.
I would imagine somebody down there is not going to be able to keep their mouth shut.
Yeah, I believe so.
803-404-6100. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for AAA Heating and Air, where just about 19 months ago, AAA Heating and Air came out to my home, installed a brand new heating and air unit, and it has been absolutely phenomenal. I can speak from experience about not only the job a AAA Heating and Air did, but also the customer service, the way they kind of explained to me about saving money with the energy cost, and, of course, the installation process and cleanup. They were phenomenal, and guess what? Right now, you can take advantage of an incredible deal they have going on. It is no payments and no interest for a full year, an absolute full year when you purchase a brand new heating and air unit. That's right. You call AAA Heating and Air today and purchase a brand new unit, 803-677-1500. You can get no payments and no interest until September of 2025. So take advantage of that today. Give AAA Heating and Air a call. Again, they took care of me. They will take care of you. Call AAA Heating and Air today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. All right, I was wrong. Y'all just went out there and started driving into each other left and right as if there was just no consequences whatsoever. All right, let's try and get through all of this here. Clemson Road at North Springs, we got an accident there. Clemson Road at Hardscrabble, accident there. I-77 northbound at US 21, accident there. Laurel and Gadsden. You get the point. There's an accident there. Old Barnwell and Emmanuel Church Road. You run into each other there. Platte Springs Road and South Lake Drive. Accident there. US 378 at I-26. Accident there. So what happened was you all got really excited thinking about the game day guest picker, stopped paying attention to the road, and just started colliding into each other. Let's try and be safe out there. Avoid all of these wrecks. Too many to read again. Try and get them to you in the next segment. You're listening to the early game. .34 is the time here at 107.5 The Game. Tomorrow we'll really get into the nuances of this game. We'll know a little bit more about the weather. Right now, I've seen a couple different weather reports coming out. And, Preston, tomorrow we will do more of a deep dive into the effects that the weather could have and how things are going as we will get a day closer. It's kind of I know what it's projected at right now, but if this thing takes a turn. By the way, if you're wondering, due to my weather app, high of 78 on Saturday and 79% chance of rain. So you've got some there. It even has the little lightning emoji, which tells me it might be significantly bad. But we will discuss this a lot more tomorrow when we have a better feel for what it may be on Saturday and how that could impact the game. We'll also get more in tomorrow, a lot on Lenoris Sellers versus that LSU defense. How good is that LSU defense? What exactly are they? Both teams have played a legitimate opponent. And by that, I mean a Power 4 program. South Carolina's played Kentucky. LSU's played Southern Cal. There is, I think, a difference between Southern Cal and Kentucky.
Slight.
But, you know, and I like a couple of people are asking, and I completely am with this as well in terms of going out and playing well in this particular setting and what it would do for this program given everything that's going on.
What's the question? Are they saying that how this changes the narrative, or what are they saying?
Yeah, one of the questions that came in, I was trying to go back and find exactly who sent it, but is that if South Carolina were to go out and dominate LSU, which again, I don't put it past them happening. I don't know what LSU is, and we're going to get a lot more into that tomorrow. But if South Carolina was to go out and the defense dominate LSU, what becomes the narrative next? Do we completely buy into South Carolina if they were to go out and kind of dominate the LSU offense? I don't. The one thing I don't foresee happening is the South Carolina offense to come out and just go up and down the field on the LSU defense. I don't think the LSU defense is that great. I just don't anticipate that happening. But if the defense for South Carolina comes out and dominates the LSU offense and limits them to 13, 14 points, has 3 or 4 sacks, stops the run game, is that what we needed to see to know who this team will be?
Yeah, this is a good step in that direction for sure. I will say this: if they came out there and did that, it may not change our perception because we watch them every day, but nationally, people nationally will be surprised because they don't expect much out of South Carolina, and they may have over expectations of LSU.
And this is also a game, good or bad, and there could be some bad to it, that Dylan Stewart can really show himself on the national landscape. Bill, why would that be bad? Start breaking out the NIL money. Not that you haven't already, but that's one of those things where not that Dylan Stewart's going to be in the Jadeveon Clowney defensive end for Heisman discussion, but this is one of those games where if he comes out and has the game that he's had the first 2 games, his stock shoots up dramatically.
You've seen this start to bubble up on the internet already on X. You've seen people starting to post clips, comment on clips, talk about him. But we always have to realize that X is a very small percentage of the population. It's only us dorks that are on there, whether you're on there for sports or politics, only the nerds. He has a big game on a national stage, on a nationally televised game in a primetime slot. All of the casuals start paying attention. All of the people who aren't into this every single day will start recognizing, like, oh, there's something going on down there. So that's why, again, this game is huge for many reasons.
And listen, also, Kyle Kennard. Kyle Kennard's is different. Kyle Kennard's is different. Javon Kinlaw had that big game, I think, against Alabama that South Carolina lost. South Carolina got blown out.
Well, he had the big game against Georgia 2019.
And that jump-started him to being where now, unfortunately, he's with the Jets. Didn't work out in San Francisco.
First-round pick.
But for Kyle Kennard, you go out and you have a monster game on Saturday. Maybe more NFL scouts look at him and be like, oh, do you see that Kennard kid for South Carolina? Maybe we got to go scout him.
Now, all of a sudden, he becomes seasoned, ready-made, ready to go.
Yeah. Immediate impact player because of age. Yeah,
exactly.
I'm with you on that.
Exactly.
And we'll get into a lot more of that tomorrow as it in terms of breaking down, and also tomorrow because I'm interested. A texter weighed in earlier that was interested to hear Dow Loggins today. I am interested to hear Clayton White and Dow Loggins talk today. They'll talk to the media. We will not have it here on 107.5 The Game. But Clayton White's going to come in there. He's been a little bubbly. He's had a little bit of a pep in his step. And right now, coming off a game in which his defense doesn't give up a touchdown, he's got to be walking around chest puffed out, shoulders a little bit higher than they've been.
As he should. They've played well, and he's done extremely well. And last week when he said he was investigating who Kentucky was as an offense, it felt like he had a glimmer of like, I know these guys. And so maybe he feels the same way about Brian Kelly and his offense.
We'll see. And again, we'll get more in-depth there as it pertains to the actual game, how the weather could impact it, things of that nature tomorrow, and obviously we'll do that Friday as well as we get closer and closer to game time. But what we've been trying to do this morning, and as we have about 15 minutes left in the program, we've been trying to help you purge some games. Get it out of your system. Get it completely out of your system. Be ready to go. Be ready to go because we want you to be positive. After last week, when we did our vibe check on Friday, and a lot of you were not positive.
You remember last week was let's go to the liquor store. Let's go.
Deer stand was another one.
To the deer stand. We're going to be vibe checking on Friday, and we have to get all the negativity out because we don't need it.
A couple of y'all weighed in. Texter weighed in. I'd like to purge the 2006 Auburn game. It was a Thursday night game with some rain, and number 2 Auburn was in reach until Jared Cook dropped the ball in the end zone. Rain and defeat, it was miserable trip back to campus, and that's from Carl. And yet Carl also, that was the night Spurrier yelled at the fan base and said, stop clapping for us when we lose.
He was right. He wasn't wrong.
So you've got that as well. A couple of y'all have weighed in with a game that you'd want to purge, the Marquez North UT loss in 2013. And get that one out of your system as well. That was on the road. That was up in Knoxville.
I'm working on that one. Yeah, okay. Yes. Get it out of here.
There you go.
Just do it. Get it out of here. Don't bring this with you. Drop your baggage off before you get to the stadium on Saturday or before you get to the couch. Wherever you're watching the game from, don't bring your baggage with you.
This texter weighs in and says, if we win Saturday, what will the perception of the game against Clemson at the end of the season be? I don't think you worry about it. The perception instantly changes to Mississippi in 2 weeks. Mississippi should have no problem over the next 3 weeks, this week included. They should roll in here to Williams-Brice Stadium on October the 5th for what I believe. The other part about that is if you guys want that crazy night game, the Mississippi game is listed as a flex game for those wondering. South Carolina wins Saturday, should beat Akron with no problem. You get Mississippi in here for what would probably be a primetime ABC 7:30 game. I'm willing to bet. And for those wondering, Lane Kiffin and the Rebels, they get their chance to play on the CW network this week against Wake Forest. Congratulations to them. What an honor. They get Georgia Southern next Saturday, the 21st, on the SEC network. And then they will play Kentucky in Oxford the week before coming to South Carolina. And just for the record, Mississippi would start that October with games at South Carolina, at LSU, versus Oklahoma, and Arkansas. They're a 4-game stretch for them that would be very pivotal to their playoff chances.
We're looking to see. I don't know if there's a chink in the armor as far as they're concerned. We know they're an offensive powerhouse. But again, it's a couple weeks away, and that's all building because if they take care of business this Saturday and then the next biggest game, which would be Akron. By the way, LeBron James doesn't play for them, does he? All right, cool. So I think we'll be good on that one. Then that becomes a huge game.
So we will. That's one of the reasons we're building it up, hyping it, talking about it, because of what the ramifications could be. And we can send you to the game. Producer Ed, let's play our little sounder.
Run to your phone and start dialing 803-404-6100. It's time to give away some Gamecocks football tickets.
Touchdown, Carolina.
Sponsored by Carolina Honda Powerhouse, your local Honda motorcycle, ATV, and side-by-side superstore. Online at carolinahonda.com.
803-404-6100. We got a pair of tickets to Saturday's game against LSU. We'll take caller number 7. Caller number 7 wins tickets to Saturday's South Carolina LSU game. 2 tickets available. Give us a call, and we will get one of you a pair of tickets. When we come back, we'll wrap everything up. Nice, neat bow here on a Wednesday morning. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for the Ecton Law Firm, where John Ecton and his team, they're ready to help you. If you're having tax troubles, if it's been stressing you out, if you've received one of those nasty notices from the IRS and it's keeping you up at night, it kind of should. You don't need to let tax troubles bog you down. But at the Ecton Law Firm, they're ready to help you. They're ready to help get rid of that stress, and it all starts with a free consultation. 803-771-9800. Let John Ecton and his team take the first steps for you towards a worry-free life. Whether you're here in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, somewhere else in this great state, the Ecton Law Firm is ready to help you. They want to help you. They want to ease that stress of any tax burdens that you've got. So call today. 803-771-9800. Again, that's 803-771-9800. You can get more information on the web as well. That's EctonLawFirm.com, ECTON lawfirm.com. Give them a phone call today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing. Whether it's a high-rise or a hospital, whether it's manufacturing or industrial, Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that keeps your operation dry and running long into the future. And it doesn't matter wherever you're at, whether you're here in Columbia, whether you're in Florence, whether you're in Myrtle Beach or somewhere else in this great state, Mid-State Roofing is ready to help you with a maintenance contract. And they do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You just need to give them a phone call. You'll speak with an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee. That's 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. You can get more information on the web as well, midstateroofing.com. Again, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There will be an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee ready to help you, talk to you, figure out what's wrong, and get you in a maintenance contract. So don't wait another day. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. 803-356-1919. 8:48 as we wrap it up here. What we called a Purge Wednesday. Texture goes the other way. Don't want to purge a game. I want to repeat the Ole Miss game when they came in here in the top 5 and we took them to school. We mentioned that.
Yeah, we said that was definitely an inflection point for the Spurrier era. It was a huge night. The birth of Sandstorm, the iconic interview with Eric Norwood, stopping mid-interview to salute the alma mater. Big-time moments.
And my favorite thing about that was Spurrier being upset after the game that the defense had to win the game.
I don't know.
One of his first comments afterwards was like, one night we can come in here and win a game 45-42. Hope the defense doesn't have to bail us out. Then he got mad that Garcia kept lowering his head and running into people. Remember that?
What a guy.
That was a turning point. And some people have suggested Steve Spurrier. I will admit, I don't know if he'd want to do it. Gold, Jerry. Gold to have Steve Spurrier sitting next to Nick Saban in that game. Because Spurrier, who, even though he's a Gator, could easily look at Saban and be like, remember the last time we were together at this stadium? I do, 35-21. And Nick Saban just have to sit there and be like,
Let me tell you what happened on that play.
Yeah.
It was an XYZ cross, and he didn't cover his man.
You feel like Steven Garcia would catch a stray bullet or two from Nick Saban and be like, yeah, your quarterback played the best game of his entire life that day. And Spurrier would be like, yeah, he did. Got suspended later on. 803-404-6100. Let's get out to the phone lines. Ray wants to weigh in here in the final minutes. Ray, how you doing this morning? What's on your mind?
Hey, guys, doing good. Oh, my goodness. I was going to call him about something else, but when you're talking about games you want to purge, oh, man, I tell you, the push-off game back in 2000 against Clemson, Andre Goodman was pushed off. Oh, my goodness. I don't know if I can ever forget that one. And the thing about the official was right there, and he didn't throw that flag. Oh, that one to this day hurts, guys, honest to God. But anyway, what I was calling about, I'm kind of in a way wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of rain because I can't name you the LSU receivers, but they always have speed in the receiver position. So I'm hoping the rain would kind of hold them down a little bit, make it a little slippery. But I do think it's going to be a bone crusher type of game. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And Preston, I just want to throw something out there. And I'm sure it's run through your mind before. When you were at Somerville, did you play for Coach John McKissick?
Yes, sir.
And you played for Coach Lou Holtz at Carolina.
Yes, sir.
What a memoir you could write. I know you're already an author because I have 2 of your books. You were at St. Peter's back in the day. My 2 kids went to St. Peter's, and they were so happy to get those books, man. Oh, my goodness. But anyway, I was thinking, I said, man, I think it'd be a bestseller in this state. One side of the front page, the cover, pardon me, you could have Coach McKissick, and on the other half, you could have Coach Holtz. But, man, I think that could be a #1 seller. I know that's run through your mind more than once before. But, hey, guys, again, thanks for letting me talk.
Yeah, appreciate the time, man. My football career has been blessed by a lot of amazing coaches. I've been very fortunate to have some of the coaches I have, not just from the head coaches, but a lot of my assistant coaches have been awesome. I can't ask for anything more.
You do have a history, but I'm reading some stuff and I'm ready to go down a path tomorrow. Or Friday.
I'm always ready to go down paths.
Most important, non-important thing about this game: celebrity picker, uniforms. What do we wear?
Now, who
comes out of the train?
Quality early game material right there. Yes, we will get you broken down. We will get the O-line, D-line, pass rush, pass rates. We'll do all of that, but also some of the important things.
Yeah, we'll do that. And for those of you worried, and Hope on our live stream understood what the object is today was. Hope on the live stream said only a few times have there been build-ups for a game that we have won. Mostly if we have lost. The players have got to stay focused on the game and ignore all the hype. You have to. That's why we're helping the fans. We're pushing all those bad memories out. We're only going to focus tomorrow on the good memories.
The hype train is coming to Columbia tomorrow.
That's right. Tomorrow we talk about the Georgia game in 2012. Tomorrow we talk about I don't know. We'll find some other ones. You get the point. We'll work on that for you tomorrow. But and then Chuck is worried. He says, let's just stay focused and take it one game at a time. That's what the team's got to do.
Yeah, that's their job.
Our job is to do what I did earlier and be completely out of control, to be completely reckless, and realize that if South Carolina wins this, how the schedule sets up for 10-2 and a playoff berth.
I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it. But why are you even doing 2? Have we lost yet?
I understand. College football's tough. College football's tough. I'm realistic.
Realistic at 10-2.
I'm 10-2 in the playoffs, but I'm realistic too.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you having a grounded perspective.
Yeah. But tomorrow we'll get into a lot of different stuff. Josh Harris will join us. Jen will be back as well, and we'll get some picks from Brian Edwards. But tomorrow we'll start to look into those games that we build your confidence. What Holtz did, tear you down the first part of the week. Wasn't sure how we could win. Wasn't sure what was going to happen. And by the end of the week, it didn't matter who y'all were playing.
Man, this game plan is going in the Hall of Fame.
The old Hall of Fame game plan. Well, we're working for you to make that happen, and we'll be ultra positive tomorrow to get back on that. And then Matt Waits here. By the way, this is on Gamecocks Plus. If you want to go and check it out, Matt says, purge the LSU referee tackle against Garcia in 2007. That was Wilbur Hackett, and you can actually go to Gamecocks Plus. I've got the backstory on that. They had Garcia cold call Wilbur Hackett.
Okay. Interesting.
They've got an interview. Pat DeMarco and Garcia interviewing on Gamecocks Plus. You can go to GamecocksPlus.com and check it out. But, they had Garcia cold call Wilbur Hackett. And that call, from what I understand, not on the interview they did, but apparently it was an interesting cold call. So, Preston, good job. We've done some purging.
We'll be back.